Welcome to the Courage to Live podcast. My name is Josh Bitsko. I'm a retired police captain with 24 years of experience out of Las Vegas. Currently, I travel the country and teach people about courage, resilience, and leadership. I'm joined by my co-host and wife, Jenna.
Hello.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today is kind of a special podcast, and we've had a couple requests for it. I'm going to talk about my police dog, Loki. I had a bunch of different dogs in my time in K9 in Las Vegas, but he was the special one in more ways than one.
And I did not have the pleasure of meeting Loki, although I'm sure we would have been BFFs because I am a huge dog person.
I need a sarcasm button because I think for our listeners and viewers to know, so sirens can go off and lights can flash. In your defense, you like seeing dogs and visiting dogs. I just don't know if living with dogs is your thing.
I think dogs look so cute from afar. And sometimes I like to pet them. But living with them, cleaning up their messes, rubbing Louie. We do have a dog. Yeah. His name is Louie. He's just, he would not be my choice. I would not have a dog if I were not outvoted by literally everyone in my family.
He's a good boy. So, I had a variety of different dogs. I was in K9 the first time from, I think, 2005 to 2009. And I had a German Shepherd named Carl. And then I had I left and promoted. And then I went back to K9 in 2014 as a sergeant. Sorry, I don't have the best memory. And at times, unless I sit down and prepare and write out the actual dates that I went places, I'm going to struggle remembering them. And so I went back as a sergeant and I needed a dog. So we went to where we used to get all of our dogs in Southern California.
Yeah, maybe explain that a little bit because I wasn't aware of how police canines actually came to the department.
So most police dogs in the U.S. are purchased through brokers. You have a company that goes overseas. They have all the connections because a lot of police dogs come from the Netherlands or the Czech Republic. And, honestly, a lot of them are raised on farms and ranches and people that raise, it's called sport dog. So they go out to a ring, they do obedience, they bite people in bite suits. And so the dogs basically, sometimes they have some basic obedience. Sometimes they have, some bite work, maybe a release. And these brokers go and they purchase say 30 dogs. They bring them back to the States and you go to kennels that are just full of dogs. And they have a day where they bring all the agencies, you tell them what you're looking for, and they give you 5 or 6 dogs to test and see if they work for your agency. And depending on, let's say, in Las Vegas, we work a lot with our SWAT team. So we need dogs that are on the quieter side or maybe a little more stable than other agencies that don't work with SWAT. They just go out and search for people. And you test all the drives and, basically the personality of the dog, courage. We have a lot of different tests that we'll do to make sure the dogs can make it. So it's an in-depth process. I'm just kind of touching on it here.
So is this strictly for SWAT dogs or is this the same process for drug canines? Or is it different?
For SWAT or patrol dogs, this is generally the process. Like I said, there's some people that have breeding programs and stuff here in the States, but generally this is the process. For narcotics dogs or bomb dogs, you can get them from a variety of different places because they're not necessarily in the Netherlands. We had amazing drug dogs that were just failed hunting dogs because they were scared of guns. But I just need a drug dog that's going to hunt. And we do a toy reward. So I want a dog that is going to search for 20, 30, 40 minutes, knowing if it finds something, it's going to get the toy at the end. So that process is a little different. I worked bomb dogs when I was here and patrol dogs. But for the patrol dogs, this is generally how it is. So when I went back to K9 the second time, I was a sergeant and I went on the dog purchasing trip for my own dog. And we needed a couple more too. And we get to the kennel And I'm trying to remember the name of the kennel. I know Reaver was the owner of it, but I can't remember. Oh, Adlerhurst. Adlerhurst was the kennel that Loki came from. And we get there. There's 10 other agencies there getting ready to do our dog selection. And the first dog they bring out for us is a large Dutch Shepherd named Yari. And he was like everything you wanted in a police dog. He's had brindle color, so like that brown mixed with black, his whole body, like yellow eyes, giant. And I took bites from him to see how he was, and like just crushing under the bite suit. I'm like, this is the dog I want. And then they brought out, some of the other dogs. We got a dog for another handler, and then there was a handler that wasn't there that we needed a dog for. And so they brought out, hey, the owner, I have this dog. He failed out of San Diego, but he's a good dog. He just didn't fit through their program. And sometimes these guys are like used car salesmen. They'll sell a dog to an agency, it doesn't work out, and then they repackage the dog and try and sell it to you, and they're expensive. I mean, it's probably more now, but we were paying $11,000 or $12,000 per dog that wasn't trained.
Do they tell you why they failed? Or do they keep that a secret?
They tell you a reason. Is it the real reason? I knew the training sergeant in San Diego at the time, so I was able to call him and be like, hey, what's up with this dog? But they're getting a little ahead of ourselves with that. So they bring out this dog. He is skinny, which means he's probably been in the kennel for a long time. He's missing half of his tail. So sometimes dogs will especially police dogs, they wag their tail so much they'll break it on something. But a lot of times it's docked. He was missing half of his tail, which is indicative of like self-mutilation. Like he had just so much energy, he chewed off part of his own tail, basically.
Had you ever seen that before?
Yeah, I've seen it in dogs before, testing.
So it's common-ish?
I wouldn't say it's common, but it's something you come across from time to time. So they bring him out, and he's the kennel hand. So they have people that work in the kennels have him at leash, and he's already biting at the kennel hand and the leash. And I leaned over to the lieutenant. I'm like, do not even test this dog. Because the lieutenant was there also overseeing the testing. I'm like, we do not need to test this dog. He's got drama. I can already tell. I guarantee he's high drive, which means he will pass our tests. Like he'll bite hard, he'll search, he'll hunt. Because a lot of like the behaviors I'm seeing are indicative also of a dog that's high drive. Not always, but generally, if you ever find someone that says they're a complete dog expert, they're probably full of it, because a lot of it's generalizations. And I've had people say, well, a dog does this because in the wild, wolves don't ever sit or whatever. Like there's a lot of nonsense out there with dog stuff too. So generally I'm speaking in generalizations, but I was like, this dog's probably going to test really well. Don't even test him. It's like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. And then I think I go get a drink of water and I come back and they're testing him. And he hit really hard. He bit really hard. He hunted great. And they're like, we're just going to bring him back. We'll bring him back and test him and just see how he works out. Because the owner of the kennel was like, hey, he's also wants to get this dog off his hands, because he was also 5.5 years old. So a new police dog, you want to be between 1 and 2, which is also indicative that he's been around to other agencies. And so you're not going to get as much longevity for the price. But, and the reality of it is there was a good chance if he didn't work out, he could have ended up getting put down, because these dogs sometimes can't be pets either. So we bring him back. So
your coworkers that you're there with tell you, so it's your boss, right? That tells you, we're going to bring this dog back to the department.
Yeah. So we had 2 trainers, Cord and Jason, and then the lieutenant and myself were there. And Cord and Jason did the bulk of the testing, and yeah, we're going to bring him back. And I was like, okay, it's not my dog. I have this beautiful Dutch Shepherd named Yari. And Loki's name actually at the time was Bullet. And
which I feel like is kind of more appropriate.
He definitely looked like a bullet. But the other side of that too is you want to not have too aggressive of names either, when it comes to police dogs.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably not a good thing to be yelling at people out on searches.
Well, and my last dog was named Carl, so I cared very little about the name of the dog. I just wanted him to work. And there's this, in at least K9 here, we'd always say it's really bad luck to change a dog's name. Because you can test, you can go through the first time I was in K9, I went through 6 or 7 dogs before I got one that fit our program, because they can still test high and other things come up in training. So I got a little superstitious. The lieutenant's like, I want to change his name, to Nordic gods, and we're going to name him Loki and name Yari Odin and all that. And I'm like, Okay. So we bring him back and we start the training process, which is literally 10 hours a night for 10 to 12 weeks. And you have to train this dog on pretty much everything, obedience and how to hunt. Because most people, they equate police dogs to biting people, but for them, what they do most is use their nose to find people that are hiding. Yeah, we work with SWAT but they, even working with SWAT, we're searching buildings or areas with them to find somebody that's hiding. And so for the most part, we're, somebody will run from the police, they'll set up a perimeter, we'll go out and search yard to yard or area to area to find that person. And not really, the hunt is the hardest part to test, and that's where most dogs fail, is getting a dog, not just it's like throwing a tennis ball and watching a dog chase it versus being able to tell the dog the tennis ball is somewhere out there, go look for it. And so that transition for police dogs, it's very difficult to train. And I'll tell you, Yari, my big, beautiful Dutch Shepherd, was doing great in training. He was strong. He would hunt. He would search nonstop.
Had he ever been to any other departments, or he was just brand new?
He was what we call very green.
Okay.
So he was young, just came over from overseas. His paws even got scratched up because he'd only ever ran on grass. So when you start searching,
cutie,
when you start searching and on concrete and all that, he kept getting cuts on his paws because he had very soft paws. And so through the training process, it's just, you teach him how to search buildings and search, large areas. We did plant nurseries. It's like a hide and seek, which is a lot of fun for the dog. And, that whole training process, it's set. We've been doing it for decades here. We train our own dogs in Las Vegas, and we put out a really good product. And I think we were about 8 weeks in, and we were at the place where you have to teach a dog from biting the big bite suit to biting a real person. And so if you think about it, these dogs have drive. They have fight drive and prey drive and hunt drive. I mean, most dogs are just a collection of drives, which really dictates a lot of their behavior. And a dog biting a bite suit is very similar to a normal dog chasing a tennis ball or whatever ball or whatever prey that they're chasing. And, they start with puppies with a little pillow that they bite, or a little rag, graduate to a pillow, graduate to a sleeve that they bite, and then the top and a whole bite suit. So it's like training a dog to do anything. Well, we have to take them and transition them to, part of a police dog's job is to apprehend a violent suspect. And there's a couple ways you can do it, in muzzle and certain things so you're not actually getting bit, but you have to teach the dog to bite a real person.
Well, and the purpose of that is non-lethal use of force, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, Loki, I can tell you multiple times Loki saved somebody's life, the suspect's life, by biting him because they would have been shot. And so we, as we're going through this part of the training, Yari, my big, beautiful police dog, had zero desire to bite anybody out of a bite suit. He was here for the games and the fun, and he was really young. So maybe I like to think he maybe transitioned and learned later in his life. But at that point, he just zero desire. And there are some ways to teach that, but it's still not 100%. Well, this whole training, we had somebody that was wanting to come to Canine. We got him to transfer to Canine for a short time to also train Loki as a spare, to put some training on him. We had another handler that needed a dog, but he was out for medical reasons. And so he was doing a great job training Loki. Loki was still kind of he was just a little bit of a mess. He, as I've said on other podcasts, Loki always had big feelings. And so there were times he would come up the leash, not even trying to bite the handler, but just trying to bite the leash because he'd just get so excited of what was going on. But you think about it, you're searching with SWAT, you're doing these things. You don't want a dog that's going to be that unpredictable, right? So I had a decision to make. I knew I had to send Yari back. He wasn't working, and we didn't have the time or the resources. And even it's a risk to teach them to bite somebody. And if they fail on the streets, that's a really bad thing. I could take Loki, and I knew he was going to work on the streets. It's just, he had a lot of drama, a lot of baggage that came with him. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to take Loki. And we, drove Yari back up to California. And you think about it now, you're a kennel owner and you get this dog back who's young. And now he's had 8 weeks of training from one of the top canine sections in the world. I guarantee he's going to turn around and sell it to someone that maybe he would work for. Right. But I don't think Loki had that same inclination. I think he was 5.5 and he had been at several agencies. There was a good chance if he got returned it, they would have to put him down. So I take Loki, I finish training with him. Of course he does well in training, but we had our domestic violences at that point because I called the San Diego training sergeant. I'm like, hey, what's up with this dog Bullet? Because that's what they knew him as. He said, he's a good dog. He just is a lot of dog and he can go, like he'll come up at the handler and you need to correct him correctly to make that happen. And he was with a new handler and it didn't work out. I did some internet research and I found another Marysville, California. I actually have a picture of Loki when he was a puppy. Like he was not a puppy, but he was young with a handler. They were trying to make him a patrol dog and a dope dog. I'm like, oh, that would never work with that dog because he wanted to find people so much. Get through training and we actually have a couple of early incidents. Like I said, we had our DVs where he wanted to come up the leash at me because what would happen is we would find somebody and the person would like a real bad guy. So someone would run, they'd hide in somebody's shed or under patio furniture. And I'd go in the backyard searching for him and Loki would smell him and he'd let me know he's there. He'd start barking. It did great. The dog would search until he like died. Like he loved what he did so much. But what would happen is after like 30 seconds of him barking at this person, which it can take a couple minutes to get someone into custody, he would turn around and come back up at me because he was just so, and it wasn't like an anger thing. It wasn't him really trying to bite me. It was more like, Dad, let me go. Why aren't you letting me go bite this guy? We found him. We put all this work in. And so I had to learn to like deal with that I learned to anticipate it and correct him. But I'll tell you, there were some times where I was like, I don't know if this dog's still going to make it. I mean, he's certified and he was finding people, but how could I work with the SWAT team? Because after you certify and then you work for a while, now I had already been to SWAT school and worked with them and certified on that, but he had to then learn those skills. And he was on the fence on whether he was going to make it or not, because you also don't want a dog that is going to just be that erratic.
So when did you know or feel like, okay, I can keep this dog?
Well, two things happened. One of my trainers, so I was the sergeant. I eventually became the training sergeant, but at this point I wasn't the training sergeant. And one of the trainers like, hey, I need you to go introduce this dog to your kids. And I was like, you're out of your mind. Like this dog he's going to bite him. Like my kid's going to step on him. But what he said, he's like, I don't think this dog was ever allowed to be a dog because he was so quote unquote scary that, people were scared of him. So he would just live in a kennel until he got out to work. He's like, I think you need to teach this dog to be a dog. So in muzzle, I introduced him to the kids. He actually really liked my son a lot, who was like 3 at the time. Loki was a little confused at first. He's like, I've never really been around a cub. Like
he's really small beings.
Why are you showing me your puppy? Where's the bad guys? But he actually really like through that and then taking him to briefings in muzzle at first and letting just cops love on him and pet him and let him relax and be a dog. The first briefing I took him to, he was doing well and he was in muzzle because I was afraid he was going to bite someone. And he's letting people pet him. But he was really connected to me because I don't think he'd also ever had a handler that wasn't overly scared of him. And I'd worked dogs before.
Well, also who knows how many agencies you knew of too that he'd been to, but he was 5.5. So who knows how many agencies he had been around or worked for.
But the first one, so he's really connected to me. And I had another sergeant come up, hey man, and slap me on the shoulder when he said hi. And Loki was on him. Thank goodness he was in muzzle, didn't actually bite him, but he was not pleased with that. So I wouldn't let anybody through his whole career. You can't, don't even just don't touch me.
Which I'm sure you loved.
Yes.
You didn't want anyone touching you anyway.
Yeah. Don't just, I'll give you a nice crisp fist bump.
Sometimes you tell me not to touch you.
Sometimes. So there was that. And then we had a situation where we had an officer, two officers were going on a prowler call. And so basically a prowler, somebody's in somebody's backyard, which you work graveyard, you're going to get one of those a night. And literally everyone I'd ever been on, you go and maybe find a drunk person back there or find nobody. The person's gone. Someone was jumping through backyards or whatever. So the two officers go on this one, and the victim, they called it in. It's like, there's somebody in my backyard. So the officers go through the house, go to the slider. They open the slider. They're met with gunfire. There was two suspects back there. One had a shotgun and a pistol, and one had like a SKS, like an AK platform rifle, and opened fire on the cops, shooting one officer, hitting him in the femur, splitting his femur in half. So he went down. The other officer returned fire, didn't hit the suspect. Well, one suspect ducked and like hid in the backyard, and the other one ran over the wall. So they called for K9. I get there with Loki. I have a couple other K9 handlers, a couple other patrol officers. And so, this is a good application for a police dog. I understand it's dangerous, but it's safer for everybody involved, including the suspect. So I get to the back slider of the house with Loki and a couple K9 handlers, and where I'm yelling into the backyard, "Hey, I know you're back there. Come out with your hands up, or I'm going to send a police dog and he's going to bite you." Like, we give the warnings, like, what's going to happen. And the suspect said, "I'm over here. Just come to me." Which, like, we're not going to do that.
Well, yeah, he just shot a cop.
Yeah.
Well, one of them did.
One of them. And so I give him a couple more chances, and then so I let Loki go. And this was, so he had found some people, but I hadn't seen him bite anybody. I can see him in the backyard. He runs kind of past the suspect because the wind was at our backs, and your odor comes off of you, like basically in a cone. And he gets into the odor of the suspect, and I see him like stop and start working his way back. Well, the suspect was laying behind a bunch of bushes in the backyard, kind of maybe 20 or 30 yards from the slider where we're at. And he's on top of the rifle. And he also had a shotgun slung on him. And so Loki, I see him go jump into the bushes, like over some bushes, and bites the suspect right in the back of the head. And I see him pulling the suspect by his head back. He literally pulled him off of the rifle. Because the suspect reaches up trying to grab Loki, lets go of the gun, pulls the suspect off of the gun. So I grab my team and we move out there because I want to help Loki too. And as Loki's biting him, now he slips off the head and ends up getting him in the arm. And now he has just a full mouth bite on the arm. And as I get to Loki, the guy has a shotgun slung and it's swinging back and forth. Like, I don't know if this shotgun's on safety, if he can, I knew he could grab it if he decided to see us let go of he's grabbing onto Loki, trying to keep him from doing more damage. So I stop the team. I grab the shotgun, take it off of the suspect as Loki's biting him, take Loki off the bite. I give him the release command. He does. We handcuff the suspect. Another officer finds the second suspect who had jumped over the wall and gets him into custody. It turns out it was like kind of a love triangle thing. Like, it wasn't just a random prowler. It was, they knew the people in the house. And so I walk Loki outside and he is just like prancing, and he knew he did good.
He knew he got you.
Yeah. Well, I looked at him and I'm like, I guess I got to keep you now.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, he just really flourished as a police dog. He always had baggage. He wasn't the quietest dog. He wasn't the most controlled dog, but we competed in trials and did, trials like a literal dog and pony show without the ponies. You go out there and do all the, the police movements. They bite people in the bite suits. They have to be really under control. We did a lot of training for it, but he really did turn into just an amazing police dog. And I'll tell you, of all the dogs that I had, like, he was the most special. Took a lot of work. Maybe that's why too, is, I put a lot of work into him, and, he was a really good dog.
Well, I guess you were kind of snowed by Loki, and you also were snowed by our dog, Louie. So maybe I question your judgment in dogs a little bit.
There's actually some similarities. Louie has some similar qualities.
Yeah.
He's a handful.
Yes. Even our vet, who was Loki's vet as well, said that our dog Louie is like it's like Loki reincarnated. And yeah, I love that for me.
She sent me a picture. They were literally just trying to fix him, like neuter him. And they had like two vet techs and the vet holding him down. And he's
Louie.
Louie. And he's 12 pounds.
Yeah, Louis is a mix between a Schnauzer and a Yorkie, and he's a little tiny thing. But when we were getting him from, I know we're talking about Loki this episode, but really this dog is Loki reincarnated. When we were getting him from this rescue, we were doing a FaceTime with the rescue, and Louis was like the sweetest, most demure little dog. And Josh is like, I'm canine, so I'm an expert here. This dog is great. And we went out to Bakersfield to pick this dog up, and he kept telling me, you're going to love this dog. This dog is going to be so chill. Look at him around all these other dogs at the rescue. He's so calm. He's just going to be a really good dog. And then we got him home, and this dog is a terrorist.
He is. He is. I picked him up from the groomer one day, and the groomer told me to never bring him back because he bit him so many times. Won't bite our kids.
Yeah. So you're doing great, sweetie, with picking out the dogs.
Yeah.
But I think next episode we'll do a part 2 of Loki and talk about some of your favorite stories.
Yeah, some of my favorite stories and his retirement and all of that. So, well, thank you for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, please share it with a friend, subscribe, leave a review, and I really appreciate you spending time with us today.